And we're back. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast, name subject to change. We are on segment number 2, which is media. Although I fully expect us to get sidetracked within the first 5 minutes of this segment.
Yeah, well, we tried to keep away from media in the first. Well, we didn't actually succeed.
No, we just went we just went in hard right off the bat.
Yeah. So, did you have a particular topic for today?
I do actually have one that I really want to talk about, but before I do, I feel like I need to clarify something from the first segment, because in the intermission, Blue actually reminded me what he was talking about. He was talking about a misadventure we had when I was visiting him in the UK, and about a museum, and I was thinking, oh, there's this really cool museum he showed me, and like we had a lot of fun. It was a really cool place. It was a Roman thing, like loved it. But on one of the other days, he tried to show me a quote-unquote American museum. That was what it was called there. They meant, Native American culture, and not...
This is in England.
In England,
yeah.
yes. In England. I'm like, why the hell is there an American museum in England? Whatever. So we get on a bus and end up next to a school dormitory in a field outside of town. He took the wrong bus, and we ended up hiking through the countryside for like an hour.
It was exactly the opposite way out of town that we took.
So that was the thing that he was referring to. I didn't remember that until I remembered it happening, but I was thinking, like, what's he talking about? The museum we saw was great. It was the museum we didn't see. Anyway, with that point of clarification out of the way, I really want to talk about The Boys. That it's an Amazon Prime series.
It's a bit private. Oh, right.
Oh,
okay,
yeah. No, not my boys. I'm talking about The Boys, the Amazon Prime series. I saw season 1 a few months back. It would have been either late last winter or early last spring. So either early 2020 or late 2019. I want to say early 2020. I loved it. It was an absolutely bombshell series, and I would recommend it to absolutely anyone out there, unless you're particularly bothered by gore. Then probably don't watch it. But
how is it spelled?
The Boys, just exactly how it sounds. THE space BOYS. It's on Amazon.
I don't think. Oh, on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime.
Right.
It's an Amazon original. It's an Amazon original.
I think I've seen probably a trailer. I remember the name, but I have not actually seen it.
Quick rundown, and I won't spoil it because I highly recommend it, and so I won't give away any of the big plot points from the first season. The reason I bring it up is season 2 just dropped yesterday, September 4th. So I am eagerly wanting to watch that. And it's a holiday weekend this week. It's Labor Day. I fully plan to spend at least one of these days binge watching season 2. So the premise of the series is it's almost like a hold on a second. Oh my god. I thought I was just about to burp into the microphone.
Lovely.
Oh yeah, it's a classy show that we run here.
Yeah.
So the premise is you've got kind of these bizarro world Justice League people, like the whole like non-copyright infringing Justice League. So you've got Homelander, who's Superman. You've got the Deep, which is Aquaman. You've got Queen Maeve, who's Wonder Woman, essentially. And the premise is, what if these superheroes were just corporate shills and secretly assholes, but they are actually superhumans?
Right, okay. They sold out the private sector.
More that the private sector and them were married from the get-go.
Okay.
So it's something like, just during a hostage situation, like one of them accidentally, throws a brick at a terrorist, misses, and hits a civilian. The corporate side of things, cover things up. They do that, like, the stereotypical, like, celebrity apology thing where they go out in front of the camera and say, I'm sorry for my actions. I regret what I did, and it's a terrible shame that somebody was harmed when I was pursuing justice. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so the story is very well told, and from basically two perspectives. One is by this young woman who's kind of the new member of this Justice League. She auditioned, and she's got superpowers, and so she got in, and she's got like this, innocent hometown girl kind of vibe to her, and she really does believe all that these people are perfect and they're amazing and they're so great. And then there's this other guy who is just some random nobody who, and I won't spoil this too badly, but he loses someone very close to him in a tragic accident related to one of the superhumans.
Right.
And I'm being purposely vague because I want you to watch this and get the full impact. And I anyone who is listening and hasn't seen it, I want you to watch this and get the full impact.
Homework.
So these two people, it focuses on these two people, and it's this superhuman woman who joins it and kind of from the inside becomes disillusioned, seeing like how really all these people she hero worshipped are kind of assholes.
Yeah.
Like the Wonder Woman knockoff, is kind of past her, like she's kind of over the hill and drinks too much to deal with the stress and depression. Okay. The Superman guy is, he's let his power kind of get to his head. A couple of them are like on drugs, and they kind of let that interfere with their work. And so that's her perspective, but then it also follows this guy, and because of that tragic event, he ends up falling in with kind of this semi-terrorist group, whose sole mission is to stick it to the superhumans and take them out, because they've
what this reminds me of?
What?
Reminds me of a D&D party.
It feels like it. It honestly feels like it.
They're doing the right thing, definitely, while they do it in the worst possible way they can.
Yes, that is a perfect metaphor. Anyway, absolutely excellent series. I cannot sing it enough praises. I've shit on Amazon before, but some of their originals are amazing. And I cannot wait to see season 2. I'm really hoping because season 1 was really strong, and I'm really hoping they continue that with season 2. That's the synopsis. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know. We've discussed Superman before and my dislike for him. Aquaman, I understand, is just a bit of a milksop. Or maybe he's not in this one. I don't know. The idea of them having another layer of not just being do-gooders does sound interesting. I do quite like films, TV series like La Casa de Papel, where you follow a bunch of bank robbers. I love that kind of shit. So it does sound definitely quite interesting, because they don't have to follow the exact same rules that all the goodies always have to follow, and it gives it an air of unsuspected, they could do anything kind of thing. So it does sound interesting.
Yeah.
Whether we get it over here, mind you, it's Amazon, so yeah, we should do, shouldn't we?
Yeah, it's an Amazon. It should be out everywhere.
Okay. Then yeah, cool.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
Once I finished Hellsing Ultimate.
Oh yeah, that was the thing that we pulled out from the first segment. So I've also seen this series. For those that don't know.
No, you've seen the Japanese version of this.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the English one is a bit different. For the people who don't know, Hellsing is an anime and a manga that centers around a kind of a somewhat modern day environment where vampires and monsters and things are real, and it follows I think it's the Hellsing organization, who have a vampire with them who essentially they're like a paranormal police department almost in England.
Well, I mean, in England that means they wouldn't get shot or killed.
I'm pretty sure isn't it set in the UK?
Oh yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I thought you talked about a English police force.
Oh no. But they're sort of like a paranormal, special forces in the UK. Yes. That's what I haven't seen the series in a while. But Hellsing Ultimate was a remake of the original one, which I think did massive things to improve it. And
I highly recommend the English dub. for its amazing voice acting. I kind of want to drag Kaiser into watching the first episode again, just in English, because it is so funny.
Oh my god.
There's definitely parts of it that the parts I don't like are the ones where it gets really silly. Like when it does the dream sequences with the stupid characters. Freaking hate that. It's so out of character for the thing.
Oh, yeah. To go on a tangent, because I feel like this deserves one. That is a trend in some like remakes of anime that really grinds me. Like, because Hellsing in general is a very, like, it's very gory and very serious anime. Like, the storyline is very, like, gritty. Characters are dying. People get, like, decapitated. And
every 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's, like, monsters that are there threatening, human society and everything. So it should be, a little bit of levity every now and again isn't bad, but it should take itself seriously. And it has I know what you're talking about. It has like those goofy chibi moments and things like that, and it annoys. They don't fit. Yeah. So they did the same thing when they remade the anime Full Metal Alchemist. Also, excellent anime. Well, not the whole way through. So Full Metal Alchemist came out, great anime, took itself very seriously. There were some goofy moments and stuff like that, but they were handled well. But it knew when to take itself seriously. When they remade it and made Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, what they did, and I just, they took one of the most poignant and like heart-wrenching scenes in the early part of the series and inserted like this goofy cartoon moment into it, and it was like it was like if you took Schindler's List and put like a random Benny Hill like chase scene in the middle of it. It was so like, it's just like, oh, they're loading the Jews on the train. Like, I'm sorry, that's the movie. Jesus. Anyone who hasn't seen Schindler's List, it's a great movie and you should watch it. Liam Neeson is fucking amazing in that movie. Great drama, heart-wrenching. But that's the level of like inappropriateness it was.
Yeah.
There's this perfectly like so anyone who hasn't seen Full Metal Alchemist, I'm just going to spoil this because it's been out for forever, or you probably just don't care about anime. There's the little girl Nina, right? Do you remember her? She, like, there was this one guy early on when they got to the city, and he was. Did you watch the anime?
The point that I got to, I read the manga.
Okay.
Where the physical copy, and I got to the point. I don't think it was not very far on at all. It was when it was a flashback to them being trained on an island by their aunt, I think it was.
Not their aunt, but their teacher.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the. Yeah. I think I've got through that arc, but I don't remember much of it.
So I'm just gonna. Do you mind if I just spoil this part? Because I need to make this point. So when they're in the city and they're talking to this one guy who's ostensibly someone that's like a friend and ally who wants to help him. He's a researcher who's affiliated with the organization that they join. He has a little girl, and he's single father, and she's adorable, and they play with her, and they get along, and it's almost like it's like a little heartwarming family moment. And they have like a family dog, and he's this big fluffy dude, and that heartwarming moment. It turns out later though that because this guy is being pressured for results from his research, he just decides, like, he gets desperate, and he uses alchemy to fuse the dog with his daughter. And
I remember
it's
this,
just like, it's heart-wrenching because she can sort of talk, and it's just like she's still trying to figure out what's going on, and just talking about like, why does everything hurt so much. And it's this heart-wrenching like scene in the original anime, and in the remake they insert a fucking like little cartoony comedy segment in the middle of that scene. It was awful. It was like they took something. That's why I was comparing it to like a movie like some movie where there's this serious dramatic tone, like
Mm.
where somebody like that you cared about in the movie has suddenly just and unjustly an innocent person has been ripped out of that innocent state and then made like to suffer, and they insert a comedy segment in the middle of that.
Yeah, it just takes you out of the mood.
Yeah, it's just it's not good storytelling. So when you talk about the Helsing thing with the dream segments, I know what you're talking about. This is a more extreme example, but it's happened in other remakes too, and every time it does, it just
Jarring, yeah.
as you can tell by the last 5 minutes, it's something that really gets my blood boiling.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm very much enjoying the anime, the series. I know we only talked shit about it so far, but
in general, Helsing Ultimate, great series.
yeah. Also, you don't really get many animes about England. I wonder why. And so it was quite refreshing to see at least an outside view on what England is. We're all about London and Cockneys, apparently. Yes, in the dub, the very strong accents are very funny.
All right, I'll have to watch. I have it on Blu-ray, but I may have to. I may have to watch it in English and see what it's like.
One of the episodes we found, and we checked the language settings, and it said we were watching English. It was like 5 episodes in, and it started, and it was the spoilers. Well, I don't know. I was just gonna say there's German people in it, and these German people were walking and they were talking, and I was like, that doesn't sound like English. That sounds like Japanese. And Alicia was like, no, that's German. They're German. It's just it's just a piece. We're not meant to understand it. They're just talking German. And no, they're talking Japanese, even though the audio says it's in English. There's no subtitles. And then I realized we were on English and in brackets 5.1 as opposed to just English. So English 5.1 just becomes Japanese.
So,
It's a bit odd.
God. Apparently, so if you listen to anything in English and surround sound, it's just Japanese.
Is that what? Oh, right. Okay.
5.1 is surround sound.
Gotcha. But yeah, no, we switched it to English without the surround sound, and it worked fine. We were wondering if Japanese 5.1 would be English.
So, fun fact: most anime, like the surround sound, is mostly added when they port it to Western markets. Most anime DVDs and Blu-rays, if you listen to the original Japanese audio, it's 2.0, which is just stereo.
Right. I didn't really notice these things generally.
I tend to notice like very irrelevant tiny details.
Yeah. I notice on YouTube videos and things, if it's like an amateur video and it's all the volumes coming from one ear, that really annoys me. But generally that's not a thing.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know why that is. Maybe there's less of a demand for it in the Japanese market. They just naturally do it in stereo. But yeah, for whatever reason, like Blu-rays, if I get a Blu-ray of an anime that I like and I watch it and I want to watch it in Japanese with English subs, the audio is 2.0, but the English audio is 5.1.
Right.
It's I don't know if there's a reason for it. I don't know if it's as common as I seem to think it is, but it's something that I've seen in most of the Blu-rays that I've bought of anime.
What was the original topic of this segment again?
It's just media in general. So I mean, we've been going through that. Mostly, we've talked about anime. We did talk about The Boys at the beginning.
I was just trying to angle it away from anime, maybe.
Yeah, like what else can we talk about? We got movies. You seen anything good in that regard lately?
Talked about. I mean, we haven't done a movie night since.
I know.
Blues Brothers.
I actually have on my topics here. I've noted down Passengers, but we talked about that earlier. That's the movie that we're going to.
Every time you say Passengers, I think Aeroplane.
Wait, are you like the old?
Yeah, the comedy.
Yes.
No, yeah.
Yes, I am serious.
Like
Don't call me Shirley.
Exactly.
I have grown to appreciate that movie. When I first saw it, I hate puns. Absolutely hate puns. and that movie has quite a few of them. So when I
Oh, yeah.
first saw it, it was like somebody scratching their nails on a chalkboard to me. But I've kind of grown to appreciate it. You
Is
know,
that from exposure to me?
maybe it's like Stockholm syndrome. I'm just like
I'm
just over.
keeping you prisoner. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna have to live with these shitty jokes.
Yeah.
No, it's
Oh, you love them, really.
it was a good movie. Like but it's one of those ones where it was a comedy of its time. Like
Mm.
the same jokes made today would result in
I don't
a
know. I saw it not. I mean, well, the first time I watched it wasn't too long ago. It was several years, but in the grand scheme of things, and I found it fucking hilarious. And I
it
do
was
not like slapstick generally,
it is a
but
fucking hilarious movie. I'm
they
more
did it
talking
well.
about the maybe some of the less politically correct jokes made in the movie.
Right? Yeah, there are a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can sell it to a modern day audience, probably
Oh
not.
God.
Not without. I mean, you probably could. It would seem really boring to us, I think, but to someone who is very protective about all these things, as long as they like dilute it enough, I think they would still find it funny. We just wouldn't because it wouldn't have the same
I love how
effect.
in this metaphor, it's almost like we're saying that people are so like sensitive that comedy, real comedy, needs to be drip fed to them
Well,
until they get used to it.
in the metaphor I'm kind of going with in my head, it's like we're drinking like 70% stuff, and they'll be fine with like a little bit of wine is enough for them. Uh, they'll still have the enjoyment that we get out of it.
Jesus,
It's just different.
70%. That's like fucking ethyl alcohol.
Well, absinthe is nice.
Oh God.
Oh dear.
Actually, you know what? There's a good movie to talk about. This is a bit of a nostalgia trip for me, because I. So, absent. There is a transition here.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Moulin Rouge? Or
No.
it's a musical. I guess it's a musical first. They made a movie. Guy that played Obi-Wan Kenobi was like the one of the leads in it.
Hmm. I was actually talking about the Moulin Rouge, I think yesterday, because we unlocked a Moulin Rouge outfit in Rayman Raving Rabbids. Sorry, go on.
But I ended up. It was I was never a musical person. I was never a theater person. It
No.
just wasn't really my thing. Um, but
Everyone around us is, but we aren't.
the my girlfriend in high school, she was really into that sort of stuff and really liked that movie. That was one of her favorite musicals. And
Yeah.
so I remember watching it, and it took a bit to grow on me. But she tried showing me Rent first, which I fucking despised. I hated every single fucking character in that movie, except the guy who was supposed to be the bad guy. I was like, I actually like that guy. He's making sense. Everyone else in this movie is just talking out of their ass. Anyway, that was welcome to me as a high schooler. I was more of an
As a high schooler, you love villains. But go on.
I was more of a sarcastic asshole than I am now. I've softened a bit in
Yeah.
my old age. But no, so Moulin Rouge was the first musical that I watched at that time where I was like, actually, I really like this. It had a good story. The characters were well done. I could get behind like the main motivation of most of the characters, and even the villain was kind of. He was a cartoonish villain, like a lot of people in these musicals tend to be. But he had enough gray area that I was like, I was really interested in the story. Loved it, absolutely loved it. The reason I bring it up, transition from Absinthe, it's set in like kind of the Bohemian Revolution in France, I want to say, and there's a big musical scene in the beginning where this guy who's like he's an uptight English author and he's gone there to write about the Bohemian Revolution, and he ends up drinking absinthe for like the first time, and there's this whole like psychedelic scene where he's seeing like green pixies fly around and stuff.
That's not what happens when you drink absinthe.
No, it does. I've had it too, and that's not what happened. Although to be fair, the version that's hallucinogenic, at the time I had it was illegal in the U.S., so I couldn't drink that variety. They had a non-wormwood variety of absinthe that was available in the U.S. I think,
isn't moonshine meant to be kind of the same?
well, moonshine is different. So moonshine is specifically whiskey. It's just whiskey that's made illegally through private stills. So
I guess like the same level of alcohol percentage.
it's essentially, so the most famous variety of moonshine is what they called White Lightning. It's essentially unaged whiskey. So you distill corn whiskey in a still, and then you don't age it in any sort of barrels. You just bottle it instantly. So it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. It's very harsh, and sometimes they'd flavor it with like honey. They just put honey directly into it.
It's basically drinking to get drunk, by the sounds of it. There's no flavor.
It became popular during Prohibition. You couldn't get real booze in the U.S., or at least most normal people couldn't. Like, rich people could still find a way. And if you were part of like private clubs and stuff like that, they were allowed to serve it, but they weren't allowed to sell it. Like, private clubs were allowed to keep their booze. I could talk about Prohibition for a while. It's a very fascinating part of U.S. history. And as I've said multiple times, and I think you've said multiple times, we're both kind of at least mildly history buffs.
Yeah.
I've spent quite a bit of time watching documentaries and stuff like that, and reading history books, so I could...
Yeah, I think you're a bit better than I tried learning about the American history, like around the Civil War and that kind of thing. And I had this like 2-day long Audible book, and I don't know, I got some ways into it, but there were so many people, and I don't know, I didn't quite have the patience to listen all the way through American history.
I think we've talked about books a few times, how the older ones tend to be very thick on the characters and the background, and you kind of just want them to get to the story, whether it's a history book or a novel. Anyway, getting slightly off into the weeds there, but yeah, Moulin Rouge. I call it a movie. It's a musical, and it probably is like a stage musical too, but I have only really watched musicals when they become movies. I mentioned this when we talked about
Les Miserables.
Yeah, I was about to say Les Miserables. I know it's not pronounced that way.
This is like the third time I've corrected you on French pronunciation today.
I can pronounce things in French. I just choose not to.
How do you say croissant?
Croissant. Hey, no, that everyone in the fucking U.S. says croissant. No one over here says croissant. That is it sounds so fucking stupid. I refuse to say that.
Proper.
Like, some things people will pronounce right, like the restaurant that does au bon pain or au bon pain, however you're supposed to pronounce it. It's... Do you not have those over there? AUBONPAN. It means something like something with bread, I think, in French.
No idea. I haven't had that before.
I don't know. So it might be just a franchise in the U.S., but they're like a soup and bread kind of place.
Right.
Like, people go there for lunch, maybe breakfast.
Wait, like a soup kitchen? No.
It's like a restaurant. Look them up sometime.
Okay.
But point being, I know how it's supposed to be pronounced. I pronounce it au bon pain. Because it's funnier that way to me. I also pronounce the restaurant D'Angelo's Dangelos.
Well, that's not pronouncing. That's just changing the fucking word.
No. That's how it's spelled. You're supposed to say D'Angelo's. Yeah, you're supposed to say D'Angelo's because it's got an accent mark between the D and the A. Right. But if you just read it out and ignore that accent mark, then it's Dangelos.
Right, okay. And we also found out that pain au chocolat are not a thing over in America. Or if they are, they're called
something different. Yeah. How did you describe them? It was like pastry with chocolate in the middle or something?
Okay, much like a brioche roll. Wait, you have brioche over there, right?
We do, but I also think we call. I know what those are because I've been to the UK and I saw a label next to them, but we don't call them that.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Just think of it's a croissant with chocolate going through the middle, and it's square.
Yeah. I'm fairly
Is
certain
a
we
pound
we
chocolate.
call those something. I think we call those eclairs.
No, eclair's like a is like cold with like cream and that kind of stuff generally, isn't it? And you have chocolate on top of it as opposed to going through
I don't know.
it. Cultural differences.
Yeah. I don't know. I still find it funny that you guys call elevators lifts.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
They do
I
more
mean,
than lift.
we do call them
They
elevators as well.
I mean, to be fair, both names are technically wrong because it goes down too. You don't lift down, and elevate implies you're going up.
Yeah. Hmm. What would you call it?
I don't know, mobility box.
I was a transport box. Yeah. Uh,
Call it a TARDIS.
the vertical cube. Yeah.
Oh my god, this is just completely got off the rails. From
Yeah.
from absinthe to musicals to now we're talking about how to say things in French, and suddenly we're on elevators.
Yeah, elevators are very media centric.
Yes, I mean, hey, some of them have little. The elevator in my office building has a little TV on it because it's like
Yeah.
a 20-something floor building, and so they've got a little TV on your way up. You can watch. It's just
Oh my God.
advertisements. They
It's
just have
weird
ad-
how we could even talk about like elevator, like the one in England, the tiny little elevator we all had to cram in with like another family of people.
I remember they were so nice, like dealing with our fucking drunken bullshit.
We were drunk.
We had just come out of a casino and we were loudly telling stories.
Okay, well you loudly tell stories anyway.
Well, that's true. I'm loudly telling stories right now.
This is true, man. This is why you're perfect for this.
God, all right.
I, on the other hand, do the English thing of not speaking.
Yeah, you mentioned this during the last segment of last week's podcast about the obnoxiously social nature. That
I don't think that it's refreshing. I think when you come over because it's not part of our culture really, and so to see it is quite surprising. Just
Yeah.
people starting up a conversation with a random person.
Yeah, I'll just talk to anybody. Fuck it.
Yeah,
I love talking to people.
and them actually reciprocating because a lot of the time if someone starts talking to you, like on the other side of things, if someone starts talking to you out of nowhere, they want something from you. I mean, or they have malicious intent towards you.
Yeah, so that is a culture, like that is much more a thing. It depends on the setting. Like if somebody just comes up and talks to you on the street in the US, you have a 50-50 chance of it being something good intentioned, meaning somebody who just wants to talk to you, and thinks that, you know, it's like, oh, you know, they saw something on you, they're like, oh, you know, oh, that t-shirt, that's fucking awesome, I know that show, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or just like, oh man, you know, that's a really cool look. Or just like they see you do something like, oh, people will strike up conversations like that in the US.
Right.
But the other side of the coin is it's going to be some fucking activist with a clipboard that wants you to sign something, or it's going to be a homeless person that's going to give you some story that you don't want to hear.
Yeah. Oh, in here.
And
in here.
But before, sorry, before somebody calls me heartless for talking about the homeless like that. If a homeless dude just has like a sign and they're sitting off to the side, they got a cup or something like that, I'll throw money at that. You walk up to me on the street and just start giving me some sob story, I'm gonna say something obnoxious and move on. Like,
yeah, over here it's like 90% people coming up and asking for money. 10% of the time it's people who don't know the area and they're asking whether I can direct them to a certain place. It used to be that about 20% of the time, at least, it was people approaching me saying, God, you're really tall, aren't you? I haven't had that in, I want to say, I mean, with the odd exception, in several years. I don't know what's happened. Maybe I've shrunk. Maybe I just slouched too much. But yeah, it's strange because I used to get that all the time. Nope, not anymore.
So we'll wrap this segment up here because we're approaching 35 minutes. But
Okay.
one last anecdote about that. So let me
Oh, it's about
rhapsodize.
the first time we met.
Yeah, let me rhapsodize for our audience a little bit here. I am not tall. I'm about 5'7". Blue, you're what in
6'5".
6'5"? Yeah, exactly. The very first time we met, I had gone over on vacation to England with one of my close friends, Raymond, and we had gone to London and then gone out and decided to meet up with Blue for the first time. I stepped out of the car and was looking at eye level and realized I was staring at his rib cage. Tipped my head up, saw him, and the first words out of my mouth before I even said hello were, "Jesus, you're tall."
That's what you want to hear from a friend of 4 years. uh,
uh, it was a great trip. But
was.
yes, Blue is obnoxiously tall, and
Wow.
I'm a
Right,
bit
thanks.
short.
Yeah, now I'm just gonna have people in the comments telling me I'm tall. Brilliant.
All right, we'll wrap up segment 2 there. Media, we did stick to media for a surprising amount of this segment.
Did we?
Yeah, most of it. We were 20 minutes in before we started going off the rails.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll wrap it up here. If you're listening during the week, then this is probably just one of the segments, so you are not going to hear us again for another couple days. However, if you're listening on the weekend to the full podcast, then you will be hearing us in just a few more seconds. Until then, thank you for listening.